Are
Right.
you good at computers or and the sciences? Then okay,
Right.
there's engineer for you. So that's literally how I started
Mm-hmm.
with engineering. Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Was that a was yeah? How was that conversation?
I was in a bad place also at that
Mm-hmm.
time because this situation just kind of developing further and further and feeling like I didn't really have anything to do.
Doors, I'm a fool for your love.
And yeah, like you were talking about how the even in writing, there's like so many different fields or like branches. Like you have content writing, business to business, all of that. So do you? So like right now, what do you write about generally, and do you also write for yourself?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Right now, like I've been, I'm right. I'm working as a content associate, creative content associate
Right.
for Byju's, and my essential job is I am a creative writer.
Right.
So what I do is like, wake up every day, meet with my team, and then we're trying to say, okay, this is what we have to teach, and this is who we have to teach for. It could be like second graders, eighth
Mm-hmm.
graders, whatever, like high school kids, whoever. Right?
Right.
The target audience can change, and the subject may change, but in essence, our idea is that this is what we want to teach, and we have to let me put it this way, right? Like think of the content that we have to teach as like the little molten chocolatey base of
Right. Mm-hmm.
any like maybe a Ferrero Rocher,
Yeah.
whatever you like to think of, right? That's the real nugget. That's what we need to teach these kids. That's what they need to take away. And we work with a really fascinating like content team. They're like subject matter experts. They've taught, a lot of them are actually teachers,
Mm-hmm.
so they come in and they say, you know what, let's make it as simple as possible, make it really clear so that anybody who sees this can actually understand. And people like me who struggled to learn all of this in school
Right.
actually can read this and say, yeah, I actually understand this is nice,
Right.
right? So
Right.
now you have the wafer, right, and the chocolatey core inside, which is the content. And now we come in and we say, okay, you know what? Let's add a little bit of nice chocolate coating, sprinkle it with a little bit of story here and there, maybe a
Right.
conflict here,
Mm-hmm.
some nice humor, things like that. And then we get this really nice package and then we send it out. And the good thing about this company also is that we have a really nice production and media team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys come up with some amazing ideas, man. Honestly, like one of the real treats for me working in this job is that I write the script and have an idea of what that looks like, right?
Right.
And after you actually push the script over to the media guys, they come up with certain storyboards. Looking at the
Right.
script, they look at the very early versions of what it will look like in video, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at these stills, and I'm just like in awe. Like, oh wow, this is exactly how I imagined it. How did these guys catch it? It's crazy.
Right.
So it's been a real treat actually, just trying to work with so many creative people. And for me, it's also been a real education because when I started off, it was a very selfish thing where
Mm-hmm.
I was in this job only because I wanted to be a better writer, and every day
Mm-hmm.
was just about, okay, how can I improve? What can I improve? And it was all about
Right.
me.
Right.
But then, as I kept working with these incredible people, like meeting new people, I was getting more and more excited because I started to realize that creativity is not a solo project. Like there is so many people involved in this, and it's a really good thing. It's a real blessing because you can think of a particular idea a million times, work on it a million times
Right.
over, and somebody else will come in and say, "How about we just tweak it just a little
Right.
bit?" And that makes all the difference,
Mm-hmm.
right? And little by little, people come in just like tiny tweaks, and then this idea that we have kind of finally finds its actual, what do you say, final form, and it would be completely different from where you imagined in the beginning, and it would be so much better. And so I really like that, and it's been a real treat because another part of it also was this other education part of it, which was that personally I never really enjoyed being in education myself. Like I didn't really like
Mm-hmm.
the education system. I didn't like learning in the beginning. So for me to get the chance to take these things, these very simple concepts that we were supposed to learn, what I was supposed to learn earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
to actually learn it myself and then think of how can I make sure that the kids who are studying right now don't have that same experience that I did. You know what I mean? Like they are able
Right.
to take the.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a real. These are like those found nuggets. You know, like you just stumble upon these nuggets of wisdom along the way, and I'm really enjoying it.
That's a different way of, like, I never imagined. Of course, we don't really know how Byju's works internally, but that's a different, very different outlook of how Byju's works as a creative department. And like you said, even if you think you've done everything perfectly, there'll be a third person who might say tweak this a little bit, and then everything's just put in place. I think Pratap and I learned that over a lot of months, where we started asking advice from the outside. But now that we have got into your writing, and you spoke about working creatively in Byju's, I want to know personally, what is it? What type of articles do you find difficult to write about? Or what type of articles do you think you have to think about a lot before writing? Because you do have a blog and you do write b- about yourself. Not about yourself, but you write about your feelings, and you also
Yeah.
write about topics, like you said. So, what are the kind of articles that you find tough to write about or difficult to write?
Uh, I think at face value, the difficulty is if it's a subject that I am not aware of and I'm not particularly interested in learning,
Right.
that becomes very very difficult because with everything it's just like research is kind of part and parcel of what you want, like of
Mm-hmm.
the writing process, because you have an idea uh, of an article or an essay or a story, whatever it is. Like you'll have one idea, maybe a scene or something comes to your mind, and you think, okay, something I can work with. And when you are developing it and you're actually working on that, and you realize that, okay, you know what, I need to know more. I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how this works.
Right.
Go online and research. I particularly struggle when that research doesn't really interest me. And so, if you actually, the thing is, if I were to show you my, what do you say, my folder of all the ideas that I have, right? I have like a bunch of, like, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 some documents, just ideas, right? Just
Right.
one word, and then maybe a paragraph of what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to think of. That'll be in like one folder. And then you'll have another one which is a work in progress, where maybe 15 or 20 docs where I've kind of started working on it, but then gave up on it. A few of them, most of them I kind of gave up on.
Right.
And then maybe like two or three of them would be in the completed or to be published bucket, where
Mm-hmm.
I just need to polish it, and once that's done, push it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how it works. Personally, for me, from a purely writing perspective, the toughest part is just actually writing the
Oh
first draft.
yeah.
It's just
Yes.
I struggle with that, like I really do.
Yeah.
You know,
But do you make the conscious effort of picking up topics? Because you said you want to learn, you want to keep improving. So do you sometimes make the conscious effort of taking up topics where that might not interest you, or the research might be difficult? Do you sometimes do that?
yeah, I did. In fact, I did. So I think that there was I was talking about how you'd actually find different ways of writing, right? Like different
Yeah.
different things that you can actually write. Because in the beginning, it was just I want to be a writer. What do I want to write about? I have a vague idea, right? But then when you get into the field, you realize that, oh, there's so many things you can actually write about. There's so many different things that are available out there. So it could be some basic content writing, or it could be B2B writing. I actually even applied for a couple of freelance jobs like that. You know, they say,
Right.
why didn't you send in an article? And while I'm writing the article for the interview, I get bored and I said, listen, man, I don't think I can do this. If I'm
Right.
bored at the interview stage, I'm going to be bored at I'll be a
Fair.
nightmare to work with. You don't
Right.
want me here.
Mhm.
So I've had that experience as well, which is actually kind of funny to me because I've never what do you say, pulled out in the middle of an interview. It's like a very new process to me. I was like, wow,
Right.
this is definitely one for the
Right.
experience column. Like, okay.
Mhm.
In all of these articles, you said that you work with a team. So, is that also where you get sort of all of your critique from, or are there people outside of work who you ask? Because I mean, just for the perspective.
The ones that I write for myself, I usually do by myself because for me at that point,
Okay.
trying to think of how I can say this. Okay, I think of writing as a craft, right?
Right. Right.
And words are my tool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the craftsman that's trying to create something, right? And so when I look at it from that perspective, it actually really helped me get a little bit of the what do you call it, like that worksman ethic, like the blue
Mm-hmm.
collar work ethic,
Yeah.
where you have to like show up and try to figure out how to do it. And I still struggle with it too. I'm not saying that it's like
Right.
a big thing, but
Yeah.
it that I think that was like the very crucial switch where I kind of I didn't sit around and like, oh, move around. I don't feel inspired to write or something,
Right.
none of that nonsense. I used to do that earlier on because at that time I could afford to do it. It wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
serious for me. But now I have to look at it and say, you know what? If I want to write something, I have to look at it as a job. I have to sit there and say, you know what? It is important for me to write this, because if I don't get better, and if I don't, then there's no meaning to what I'm doing here.
Right.
I'd
Right.
much rather go back to doing what I was doing before. I was good at that
Mm-hmm.
as well. I
Mm-hmm.
was, I was good in my previous job. I had no reason to actually switch, but I did it because this was important. Like for me, that process of fixing, like, okay, you have this lump of clay, which is your first draft. Okay, cool. Now polish, 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 and finally you get that thing. You put it out there and you feel good. And
Right.
okay, cool, nice. I feel nice. Maybe check the, what do you say, reads and likes and stats and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that for a couple of minutes, and then
Yeah.
okay, what's next?
In terms of like reads and views, is that something you keep going back to? Or once you've published it, you're like, okay.
I don't actually check, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the idea
Okay.
that so posting on Medium is actually no, I've got about 90 some people
Follows. Yeah.
following me on
Yeah.
that,
Followers. Yeah.
and I don't know most of them, and that to me
Oh,
is really
that's great. That's the best part, right?
exactly, and that is like a
Yeah.
really new experience. Like, okay, I've
Mm-hmm.
got a bunch of followers, a readership that I'm building, and I don't know most of these people.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so what I do want to do actually is, like, be a little more consistent, be a little more professional about it, like be a little more serious about it, and then just like figure out that, you know what, every day show up, just do
Mm-hmm.
anything. It doesn't have to be the best line you write. As long as I write a line, I should be happy with that. And that is, like, I think my next step of my evolution, if you want to call
Right. So the article school made me believe I was stupid. Now, before we get into the article specifically itself, what do you do before? Like, you thought of this idea,
it.
and then how do you put that idea into paper? Like, what's your first draft? Like, what? How do you start off?
I think it starts with just that emotion, at least with
Right.
this specifically, because because a lot of the personal articles are, they start from a place of emotion, right? And you just
Yeah.
start um, writing that emotion out. And for this specific piece, it was this that it was the idea that, for the longest time, I realized that, or at least I believed that, I wasn't very intelligent, I wasn't very capable, I wasn't very accomplished, because I wasn't in
Right.
that system, in the, because it also kind of goes from this idea of like talking to other people, and then they're talking about how failures
Mm-hmm.
are like, oh my god, I failed in this, and I'm
Right.
looking at that, it's like, yeah, okay, so what, like, yeah, that's part and parcel of that, I've failed so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares about that? Why are you so upset about that? And then you kind of compare your experience with other people, and you realize that, oh, wait, you know what, I actually had a tougher time
Right.
in school than most people did. And I think a lot of my friends also had a very similar experience. So maybe I was in that circle,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't really talk about academics or the importance of it as much as, say, maybe other people did. So that's that. It was just me reflecting on that feeling that, hey, listen, I mean, I really felt like I was stupid. I wasn't capable back in school. But then
Right.
when I look back at what I've done, do I feel stupid? No. Am I stupid? I don't think so.
Oh, of course
So
not.
yeah,
Right.
so that made me really angry
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning. That, okay, you know what? I was actually part of a system that made me believe a certain way, and I was also angry at the fact that they taught me a bunch of things that they said was very important, But
Right.
then once I left that environment, I realized that there are so many more, like so many things in the real world that are so important that they don't cover it all.
Right.
You know, like money
Mm-hmm.
being the first thing, and even if it's knowledge itself, at a very fundamental core, it's not about what you know; it's about what you can show,
Right.
what you can bring to the world. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you guys was talking about, we have this idea of a podcast that we want to do, it's just going to be the two of us talking and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. In the real world, if you actually were to say get some sponsors for this before you started, right? People will laugh you out like, yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to talk about it, just go talk. Nobody's stopping you, right? Why are
Right.
you asking me to pay money for this? But
Mm-hmm.
if you actually did do that first, I think the first podcast you had was about young talent in IPL or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, you actually went through a podcast.
I know I do. Yeah, when I found out about that, I was like, oh, dude, damn. The thing is, I actually found out about it because through the family groups, I just happened to go through it, and they
Right.
said, hey,
Yeah.
Ashwin is doing a podcast. I said, oh, I got to check it out. And the first
Yeah.
episode was the IPL talent thing.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so when you started that, now you have a proof of concept. This is what
Yeah.
it looks like. These are the things that we talk about. This is what we
Mm-hmm.
know, and this is our dynamic. And then you present that to the world, and you realize that okay, hey, this is what this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that we can actually get behind. This is something that
Yeah.
has the potential to grow. And that's the experience of the real world that I had, right? And we weren't taught any of that.
Right.
So I started building on that. What am I resentful about? What have I learned in my experience versus what was missed out in school? And I did
Mm-hmm.
bunch of research as well. I found this really interesting TED talk about how school only it only molds one type of intelligence, but at the cost
Right.
of other types of intelligence. It was a really nice,
Right.
insightful TED talk by a 16-year-old entrepreneur or something.
Yeah. You've mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There you go, yeah.
Yeah. Now that's I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that seems like a very broad idea, right? Now to
Mhm.
make that idea to come on paper, how did you think of structuring it? Because like you said, you listened to this TED talk and you have three learnings that you did learn. So you have
Yeah,
three headings for each. You have one heading for each. So
yeah.
in your mind, when you were typing this down, how did you structure it? Where did you start from and where did you think you would end up?
Okay. Usually, and this is for me, I know a lot of people have different setup, but usually the first idea that comes to my mind is how I end, how this ends.
Oh, right.
And like this again, I thought that this was a little crazy, but then I learned that a few people actually have that thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which writer it is. Um, but yeah, but there is a very prominent writer who actually does that, where
Right.
he writes the last page,
Mm-hmm.
the last scene of his book, and he knows that this is exactly where he needs to end, and then he writes to that ending.
Right.
And I found that to be very interesting idea. So I realized that okay, this is something that's part of my process. Every idea that I've had so far, I always think of the last scene. Any story, I think of the
Mm-hmm.
last scene. That's the ending is what always gets me hooked.
Right.
So I write it out and I have an idea of what that looks like, and then I start from the beginning. And here is where I start discovering because I don't have any idea what the rest of it's about.
Right.
I have some information about, based on some research, I have some
Mm-hmm.
information about what the issue is. And like I said, because I'm kind of writing from feeling, I also want to talk about certain things like what I have learned that, these are the things that the real world cares about, but the school does not teach you, it does not prepare you. And I just like slowly start developing each of these pieces. And then once you have an idea, it's just about structuring it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's almost like I said, like I think I told you earlier that you have a lump of clay, which is your first draft, and you just slowly shape it. Like
Right.
you polish it, you take chip things away a little bit, little by little. You kind of keep reading it, rereading it to the point. Actually, I don't want to read this anymore because I've read this so many times. So that's what it is.
Yeah, before Ashwin goes to the next question about that, so do you ever look back at your articles and think of things that you could have written differently?
So I don't really think of how to improve it specifically. And when I
Mm-hmm.
mean that, I immediately like I'm even when Ashwin actually told me that you guys wanted to talk about this article, right? Part of me was like, okay, what did I write? I haven't even read it. Let me read it.
Right.
And as I'm reading it,
Mm-hmm.
I realized, okay, pretty quickly I realized the context of it because it all hits you. The context of behind why what you wrote and all of that stuff hits you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, like, dude, I mean, every year, even tomorrow, if I read this, I can always think of specific places where I can change it, where I
Right.
could have done this better, I could have done that better. But I don't really linger on this because this is done.
Mm-hmm.
I published it. It's out there. There's no point reworking this, right?
Right.
Because I don't get any ROI from that. What
Mm-hmm.
I can take is, okay, this is what I missed this time, and this is where I can. This is what I need to keep in mind the next time I write, and that's where the real learning comes for. So occasionally I do end up reading some of these, and I do like it because I think. Um, this like again this is a craft, right? And I need to improve, and as a craftsman I need to make sure that okay, my pieces are as perfect as they can be, or as
Right.
perfect as I can make them at that time. And I realize that that process also takes time, because even in the job that I'm working right now,
Mm-hmm.
the scripts that I wrote when I started out are horrible, like honestly. And then these are scripts that were they went out and we had like
Right.
whole sets of. But then I have grown as a writer, and I look back at those things and say, you know what, they're very like I could have done so much better. And
Right.
it's really nice because I can look at that and I say there's a problem with those scripts, or there's ways that I can improve it. And I
Mm-hmm.
look at that and say, you know what, that means that I've grown, I've become better.
Right.
So I take that as a lesson. Like, you're on the right path, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying, that is a very healthy way to look at it because you can always look back and then think
Mhm.
about how much you can improve and forget that you have to move on from it.
Mhm.
Now, this is me trying to understand you as a writer itself.
Okay.
Because, all right, so you had three learnings which you highlighted, and under each heading, which you can see, there are different highlights itself. I'll properly edit this out and show it in the video. But yeah, you have different highlights under each heading too.
Mhm.
And so my question is, why did you think it was important for you to have a heading for whatever you learned, the
Mhm.
three learnings that you had? Why was it important for you to have that heading in itself? And under each heading, you did highlight few things. And why space it out this way? Like you
Mhm.
could have easily had a paragraph of 8 9 lines and then
Mhm.
couple of other paragraphs with 8 9 lines. But why the headings? Why did you space it out this way? What was your thought behind that?
Okay. I think that comes to the more of the technical aspects of it.
Yeah.
Because as a writer, the question is not what you want to write; it's about what is the reader reading, right?
Right.
What do you want the reader to take away from this?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, again, like I can write as many stories as I want, I can write as many articles as I want, but if the reader doesn't take anything away from it, then it's a waste of their time,
Right.
and in effect maybe even a waste of my time. Because
Hmm.
um, if my if like, it's kind of like, they say like madness is doing the same thing again and again without
Hmm.
really changing anything, right?
Hmm.
So, and expecting a different result every time. So for me it's all about like, okay, if I am writing about this, there is a reason why I wrote this, is because I wanted people to understand that, hey, listen, this is what I have learned, these are my experiences that have taught me that school actually is very deficient in specific reasons. And these three, the main headers, the one in bold, are the
Right.
ones that I want them to take away. So even somebody who isn't interested, like I
Hmm.
was when I reread this article, I wanted to see what are the three main things that I want to take away from this. I read
Right.
the
Right.
what do you say, the big headers,
Hmm.
and I immediately understand. Oh, okay, so I want to talk about how school teaches a very skewed definition of success. I want to teach about how school teaches a few others I can't remember, but the idea is now that somebody who doesn't have time to read this or doesn't care enough to read this can
Right.
immediately read these things and then take away three things.
Hmm.
Now, the way that I write about this itself is vague enough but specific enough where see somebody can read this and immediately take it to their own experience, because that's what most people do when you're
Right.
watching movies, when you're watching TVs, when we TV shows, we're watching, when we're reading books, any kind of situation. If you will feel an emotional connect when you can actually relate to it in some sense, or
Mm-hmm.
you can actually place yourself in that moment, right? With
Mm-hmm.
these kinds of with stories, it's easier to really bring the reader into a situation that they've never been in.
Right.
Like I can if I can do a good job of writing a very gruesome kidnapping story or something like that, I can bring the reader into a situation where they feel like that captive and they feel like I need to find a way out of here. But
Right.
that is something that story has the power of doing, because I
Mm-hmm.
can create that conflict, I can create that environment, and I can bring them in that moment. But with articles like this that are more matter of fact, I have to give them something, like it has to be informational, but at the same time it has to hit them somewhere in some sense, and if it isn't relatable, then they don't really take away. It's like, okay, good to know.
Fair.
So
Right.
that's how it is.
On those lines
Of
itself,
course.
do you think there is a trade-off of sorts? Because at least in this case, like this is an article that you also writing from what you feel, and at the same time
Yeah.
you also want your audience to relate. So at what point do you decide ki, okay, this is what I want, but it's not matching with what the audience might want? So how do you go about in that sort of situation?
Right.
A lot of this is also see, because honestly, I don't know if this is a very successful article or not, because I don't really get a lot of feedback from it.
Right.
Right, and that's, I think, where feedback actually is very important when you're working in a larger group.
Mm-hmm.
It does help, and that wasn't the purpose of this specific article. It was more of a way for me to actually say, listen, this is what I believe, right?
Right.
And if you want to discuss, I'm up for it. Like, okay, let's discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, with any kind of article or any kind of story, any fiction, non-fiction, whatever it is, you need to understand that you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, because see, even podcasts as a general genre is not for everyone. Like,
Right.
I know a lot of people who are like, oh, dude, 2 hours, no, no, thank you. They much rather have those what do you say, 10-minute, 5-minute clips
Yeah.
of a podcast rather than listen to the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has a different taste, and you can't write for everyone.
Right.
So the
That's true.
idea for you is just about. I think I actually read this really interesting thing on, it was on Medium itself. It's like it was a writer who said that it took her about 20-30 years of writing to finally find her voice,
Wow.
right? To write
Wow.
for.
Right.
And that was a really inspirational thing for me. It was like, okay, you know what? And when you start off, when you start on this journey, you start writing. I think one of my earlier pieces was also about I want to write to become famous, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to write. And
Mm-hmm.
that was my case in the beginning, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
as I kept writing, I started getting more involved in it, and I realized that the outside voices didn't really matter as much, right?
Right.
So if 100 people are telling me that actually no, 100 is a little too much. Let's say two or three. Okay, 2 or 3 people are coming and telling me that you can't write, you're rubbish.
Right.
That criticism doesn't really affect me as much as me saying that I can't do it, or I am
Right.
rubbish. So what happened is now that it became in like almost like an in a facing thing. Like I'm now looking at my mirror and trying to figure out, okay, how can I write stories, write things that I am proud of doing, right? So that
Right.
I can shut this inner critic up, or at least quiet him down to the point where I'm confident enough to say, you know what, okay, he doesn't think that I can do it, but it doesn't matter. I can still
Right.
figure it out. So
Ah.
that's kind of like the journey that I'm on right now.
Siddharth, you were talking about the research and how you do research, and you were giving a lot of examples of how an article unravels itself. But I want to know, how do you write? Because when you came on to the episode, you also spoke about how you have a very pragmatic way of working, or your work style itself. So I want to know, how do you sit and write? Because I know for Pratip, if you give him a topic, he can sit and write, even though he might disagree. But for me, I have to force myself to sit and think and write. It doesn't come naturally to me. Although once I start writing, the article just flows. But before starting, I have to force myself to sit down. What is it like for you?
My question is on similar lines itself, so I'll just add on to
Oh, okay,
that.
sorry.
Uh, so I assume that at Byju's there must be like deadlines that you have for each piece that you're working on. So yeah, like adding on to that itself, in that case, how do you structure your research so that you don't procrastinate stuff?
Okay, let me talk about the work then, because here you have a lot of structures and you have a lot of people that
Right.
you're working with. So I'm not doing
Right.
it all alone.
Right.
Mhm.
And that actually really does help because, like I said, in terms of research, as far as content is concerned, it's about um I don't know the content myself, so somebody else has to come in. The subject matter expert has to tell me what I have to
Right.
write about.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's I'm eager to learn because dude, I'll be honest with you. I'm one of the best things about working here is that I'm learning all of the things that I was supposed to learn, and I'm so ecstatic. It's just like
Right.
yes, physics, second law of motion. I know it now. There you go. So you have people who know what you're supposed to write, and even as a product as such, like because it is a commercial product, you need to have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of planning and you need to have a lot of very clear idea of what it should look like
Yeah.
before you even
Yeah.
start, right? So the people who are higher up, the ones who are the product owners or the subject matter experts, managers, blah, 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 whoever it is, they will have this very concrete idea and they will bring it to us and say that okay, this is the structure that we're working with. For us, but specifically for the writers, it's about okay, I have the content that is being provided to me. I need to figure out the narrative that fits with it. What are the characters? What does the world look like? What are the scenarios that I can create that can, what do you say, mirror or marry with these content pieces? So if I'm talking about physics, I can't just talk about some biological thing, right? I need to give a setup that actually connects with the content, and through the content they learn something, and at the end of the story, the characters that are in this situation are like, oh hey, listen, I can actually solve it with Newton's second law of motion, and this is how I do it. And so that's basically how we do it. So with work again, it's a lot easier because you have a lot of other people coming in and helping you with it. I think in many ways they're also kind of like accountability partners as well, right?
Right.
So if you have somebody that if that works for you, then great. That's something that you can definitely try. Where if you feel you can't write by yourself, then you need somebody, one of your friends, who can make sure. Hey, listen, bro, you said that you're going to get it to me. Send it to me now, right?
Right.
And if you have that accountability partner and that person is serious about it,
Mhm.
then you will also learn to be serious about it. That is one way of doing it, and that's the work part. But when I'm writing for myself, I know it's all about me. Like it's about me
Mm-hmm.
trying to explore it and try to figure it out by myself. And that's something that I'm doing like quite consciously because um long term for me, what I want to do is like I said, the dream is essentially to
Yeah.
do novels. I want to write
Right.
full
Yeah.
length
Yeah.
novels. I want to
Yeah.
write books. I want to publish those books. So I know a huge part of that, and that is the journey that I'm on right now, is that I need to write, I need to create those stories, create those characters, build that world, create the conflict, move that plot along, and essentially write a really engaging story, right? And the whole writing part of that is the biggest hurdle for me. And that is something that only I can really solve myself. And if I can't do it myself, then I can't be serious about doing this
True
long term.
that.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
That's true. Yeah.
like you were saying earlier, right? Like, how do you actually sit through it?
Mhm.
So, I love to edit. Editing is a dream to me. It's like, oh yes, I have all of this stuff. Everything is sitting here. Everything is nice. I can just like pick and match, like here, click, click, click. All of this sits well. Okay, good. This is a good place to be. But then actually writing it out, I have to. With editing, it's just about playing with the building blocks
Right.
and seeing
Right.
what kind of
Right.
different shapes you can really create. But actually building those blocks is a real pain. It's a real pain,
That's right.
honestly. So for
That's
me,
right.
it's just about okay, you know what, sit here,
Mhm.
do
Mm-hmm.
it. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever time you have. And I've actually now I've learned to write on my phone as well, because that really helps me whenever I'm moving on the move. I am sitting and I'm watching this Netflix show that I'm not really paying attention to, and I'm on my phone on social media. It's like
Right.
go back, go to the thing, open up a document, let me just work on something. And so working on the phone actually really helped me because you find a lot of time. Actually, I've noticed, a lot of different places where maybe you're sitting there, you're cooking something and you're waiting for this thing to boil over, and it's like, okay, cool, and you
Yeah.
do something. Or you're in the
Yeah.
can, that's another found time for you. You have a lot of different places you can actually, you're in the Uber. Uber is a real
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
amazing place, honestly. You just sit there, especially with Bangalore traffic,
I
dude.
was
Yeah.
just gonna say, especially
It's
in
Yeah.
Bangalore traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
beautiful. So yeah, I guess different people have different, uh, I'd say, problems or like different
Mm-hmm.
challenges
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to their creative process.
Right.
It's just about finding what is the issue, and some places you're going to struggle. And I know for a fact that okay, I've come to accept that writing the first draft is going to be my struggle.
Right.
So this is the part where I am going to have to be in a complete war with myself, sit, write utter nonsense. Does not matter,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
I know that after I'm done with this, I can then get to the fun
Right.
part.
Right.
So that's how I look at it.
Man, that's so interesting because I know a lot of people who love the starting bit of it. So I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys who love
Mm-hmm.
the writing bit of it and not the editing bit. But like you said, one thing I can take from that is trying to write on your phone because I'm so stubborn about typing on my laptop that I come back home and by the time I'm so lazy that I don't do it. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I can take. Dude, I can listen to you forever, but it's been more than an hour, and this is how we end our podcast. And so, this is our last question. Nothing related to writing, by the way. If you have listened to our podcast, you would know this. But do you like your coffee or tea? Which do you prefer?
I am actually warming up to tea. But
Oh,
that's actually like
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's a consequence of like me talking to a bunch of different people, being with a bunch of different people who actually like a lot of tea. So they kind of push that onto me as well. But usually I'm a coffee person, and this I think is come from another thing of mine is that I'm what you'd call a night owl. Like
oh,
it's
right.
Okay.
very easy
Okay.
for me to stay up till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the night. If anything, if for me, what's difficult is me trying to fall asleep
Sleep
at
early.
12.
Sleep
I'm very
early.
particular. Like you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to fall asleep at 12 so that I can wake up early. The reason for that also is kind of silly because I realized that being a night owl in a world made for early birds is a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
So I've kind of made it a practice. I have like a 3 or 4 alarms so I can wake up as early as I possibly can, and that's basically what it is. So I'm always up for any kind of coffee, but tea is a newfound pleasure.
Right. I think the waking up part, I think both of us can relate to, and I'm glad you're
Yeah.
warming up
Yeah.
to tea. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's great. Sid, man, thank you so much for coming. And I feel
Yeah.
like the conversations I have with you off this, I learned a lot, but I've learned so much more
Mhm.
in just this 1 hour. So thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, man. Thank you
I
so
hope
much. Thank
you
you for
had
having
some
me.
sort of fun. Guys,
Definitely.
Sid, again, thank you so much for coming in. Like you all know, Sunday is a podcast with guests from all around the world and all walks of life. We usually divide the podcast into two. So Sunday and Wednesday, I need my outro to get polished. So I'll work on that. Links in the description below. So check that out. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We'll also put his Instagram in the description. Also his Medium link. So read because it's absolutely beautiful. Like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching.